Hello and good day to you. Today's video will be crocheting a ruler lace kaftan to fit size 8 to size 14 or 16. That's an adult size. This we've already made for dolls before. That's because we're working on a series, Crafters TV series. And in that book series, an animated series and animated book and game series, we have knitwear section we're working on. So we have to design some knitwear. So we designed this for the dolls, the kaftan. I was like, okay, why don't we make this for adult too? Because I really like the pattern that we can make for an adult. So we decided to use it to make an adult for an adult. This pattern will be available on the blog for free, and we have this video demonstration too we have the video demonstration for people to watch too for free. So it's going to be on Anino TV and Crafters TV, where we have our games, audio books and video books, and many more demonstrations there, and our upcoming talk show. And upcoming talk show and interviews, crafters interviews, and many more. So what we've already designed the kaftan, although it's knitted widthwise like so, but when we make the dress, we're going to rotate it so that it's lengthwise. So when you're making it, the width will be longer, but when you want to wear it, it's going to be like, because kaftan is going to be. And you can make it short, you can make it long. Short, you can make it short and then wear leggings or jeans under it, or you can make it long so that it's gown-like as it is for this dolly. So to knit this roller lace kaftan, which we decided to use for an adult, I know you've seen it on dolls, and some of you that follow the blog, you know that we are using it, as I stated, that we're using it to illustrate Crafters TV book series, bedtime stories and games, and also the animated series. We're using it for that, and you are seeing it. But we just decided to make fun adult because as I said earlier, I really like the pattern and I want to use it this autumn. So to make it, we need our swatch. So here's my little swatch that I designed for it. Little swatch. We need a tape measure. The tape measure, you have to take your measurement, spread your arms sideways and then sideways like so as the doll is standing, and you measure from one elbow to the other elbow. But if you want it longer, you can see how it is, okay? But if you want it to the wrist, then measure from one end of the wrist to the other end of the wrist. That's from your left wrist to the right wrist, if you want it to cover your wrist. Okay. So that's just how it's going to be. I'm just going to put it like that. So that's how it's going to be. Make it longer, you can make it shorter, but remember you can still reduce the size if you want to, and you can make it half so that you can just put trousers under or pants. Trousers, let me say trouser. Let me use the word trouser instead. Okay, you can use leggings under it. So to knit, after the sizes with your tape measure, you need a ruler. Please, I know I'm demonstrating using the metal ruler. That's because I can't see my wooden ruler and plastic ruler. Please don't use metal ruler. It can cut you. I have to be very careful, make sure no one sits around me when I'm using this. And also, because it's metal, it's apart from it cutting, you can cut someone that sits close to you, and it's kind of, although it won't break, but it's kind of dangerous using metal ruler. So get a wooden ruler or plastic ruler and be careful with that. Don't worry, it won't break if you are very careful, but you'll be able to you don't want cuts on you because you're knitting or you're crocheting. So please, I know I'm demonstrating, I'm using metal ruler. That's because I can't find my I don't know where I kept it. So I have to look for it. But please, please, please don't use a metal ruler, please. Okay, so you need it's going to be of 24 inches. Yes, 24 inches. That's 60 centimeters. You will need crochet hook. It's going to be either crochet hook 4.5 centimeters, or you can use 3 centimeters. If you want for size 8, you can use 3 centimeters. You can still use the same numbers of stitches, but you can use 3 centimeters or 4 centimeters for size 8 to 10. Then for 12 to 14, you can use this other size. Or if you want it smaller, you want to stitch it, or you're using something like a DK yarn, double knitting yarn, you want to use a smaller needle. It all depends on the weight of the yarn. This is around, and larger needle is alright because the stitches are kind of big. Okay, and the wool, the thread, the wool is kind of thick. Okay, so and for the yarn, you need 3 400 grams each of Aran yarn. So that's what I'm using. But I'm using different colors now. For that's this is 400 grams, this is 400, this is 400, 400, 400. You only need 3, that's 1,200 grams. You only need 1,200 grams of yarn. That's 3 400 grams, 3 400 grams each of Aran yarn. Why I'm using different colors is because when I had only two, that's 800 grams of Aran yarn, just color. And I was planning to make it just plain back and front, same color. But after knitting the back, this is the back. After knitting the back, I'm left with about, should I say, 300 grams of yarn. Let me just say 300 grams of yarn. I'm left with 300 grams of yarn. That's not going to be enough because I've already used 500 for the back, or 500 or so for the back. So I decided, because I didn't see any other, anywhere to buy the yarn. They're just on offer, you know, Aldi. They just bring them and that's it. If you don't get them, you have to look for people that can sell them to you. So I have different colors. I decided, okay, why not make stripes for the front? Combine the other colors, we'll make stripes for the front. Combine the other colors, we'll make stripes for the front. While we leave the back to be solid color. When we need another kaftan or something else, maybe I'll have enough yarn for those ones. But it's a nice way to combine, to make use of what you have. I'm just trying not to make sure I do a lot of ordering. Okay, so I'll put these ones aside. This is a swatch, and for the swatch, okay, before I talk about the swatch, let me just show you. So we need on the side, we need like so. That's a pattern. I think we'll go closer so that we can get it. Okay, we'll make chain, then DC, we make the loops, and then we secure the loops with another DC double crochet stitch. Sorry for the abbreviation, and we make double crochet DC or double crochet crochet, so stitches. So that's what we use, and we start with chain stitch. Next is going to be a double crochet, then the loops and double crochet to secure the loops to make them the lacy effect, and then we end with double crochet after securing the loops. So you have to, apart from measuring your shoulders to elbow to elbow, you also need to measure from your shoulder down to your ankle. That's for the length you want it to be. Then you will need to rotate. Okay, this is how you need, but when you are designing, you need to, if it's the kaftan, you may need to rotate. You can still put it like so and make it like so if you want it to be like that, or if you want it vertically, you have to rotate 90 degrees. Okay, so let's start. I'm just going to put the white so that you see it clearly, also the white, in case the color have okay, so here it is. It's been layered because it was stitched together for the doll. So here is the pattern we're going to make, but this time when we wear it, when we finish, it's going to be like so. Then we'll put a large belt and look chic. Okay, I'm going to start with this sea green. So because let me just put the pattern first, and there's something I want to talk about first. So when we start with the sea green, what I'm going to do is, because we are going to use different colors, we're going to alternate the colors. I'll make sure each line is a different color entirely. Roller lace is made up of multiples of five stitches plus one. The one is the turning chain. Roller lace effect is a loopy lace effect created by making loops over a ruler and then securing the loops with double crochet or single crochet stitches made into the loops. So these are the loops made on the ruler, and these are the double crochet we're using securing those loops to make the design. Why? So roller lace is made up of 5 stitches, multiples of 5 stitches plus 1 is because 1 is a turning chain. But if you see it here, you'll see that we have, for this 4 lace effect, we have 5 loops here, 5, 5, 5, that's 20. So we are going to create the effect. We have 5 loops here, 5, 5, 5, that's 20. Then 1 easy turning chain. Our garment requires us to use 191 stitches. 190 stitches plus 1, which is a turning chain, is going to be 191 stitches. So we have to cast on 191 chain to start with. But I'm not going to start casting that now. I'll have to do a little demonstration so that we can progress. From that we can now move on to our garment. I'm now going to demonstrate how to make the stripe pattern for the ruler lace. So we're going to make 21 chain with the teal or sea green. So we have 21 here, 21 chain. From the second chain, we'll miss the first chain, and into the second chain we are going to do a double crochet. So I'm going to just do that in here. And into each chain space across, we're going to do double crochet. So here we have it. Okay, because it's stripe, you see that I did this. Yes, it's a mistake here because it is stripe. I'm not supposed to do this loop out. I'm going to remove that loop and let the two hang. So before I do the last loop, because it's stripe, that's the difference between stripe. Because it's stripe, I'm going to cut my yarn, just going to trim it off at an angle there, and I'll get the next yarn. Then I'll tie it. If you notice, we still have two loops. I'm going to tie it so close to the yarn. Let me tuck this one off the way so that it's not intruding or causing a distraction. Okay, so I'm going to tie it. It's a kind of struggle because I'm demonstrating. Okay. Okay, I'm going to, let me see if I can. Okay. And I'll put it twice in the loop I made so that it creates a firm a knot. It's firm knot. And if you see it's so close to, I'm going to bring it closer so that you see it's so close. So when I do the last loop to secure these two extra loops, so when I do it, okay, I don't know if you saw that, distracting, I know. So I'm going to just, okay, it's tight, it's very tight. You can see that it's very tight. And so I'm going to take this loop away, and when I do the last loop to secure it, you will see that the new color comes up. So this row we have the new color, and I'll just put the yarn in, the ruler in, turn my work. Sorry, I think I'm making a lot of mistake now. So I'll turn my work, and we have the loop there. So I'll turn my work. So here we have it, and when we pull it, we have our loop. For when you're making the stripe for the next row, that's the technique. So that's the stripe of the previous row, the color of the previous row don't enter the next row. So I'm going to turn my work. Don't mind that these strands. I'm going to turn them. Just going to hide them behind so that I show you this. Okay. So pick my loop. I'm going to turn my work and then put my ruler in to this first loop. Then putting the crochet hook into the upper part of the second DC, the top of the second DC, I'm going to pull a loop and then wear it on the and if you look at the front and the back, we have the loop there. So we continue in that process into the third one, the upper part of the third, pull a loop and we'll wear it on. Trying to, when you're sitting and crocheting, it's easier because you have place to rest your hand, place the ruler. Okay, I'm just going to let it slide like so. Okay. So into the upper part, pull a loop, and we'll wear it over the ruler. If you pull the loop from the upper part, if you use the upper part of this double crochet of the previous row to take the loop from, your loop will be consistent. But if you come in between to take the loop, that if you take a loop from in between the two stitches, your stitches won't be consistent, and you want it to be the number of loops you desire to make the pattern. And when we count, we'll have 20. We should have 20 loops. And we have our last double crochet there. I'm just going to count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20. So we have 20 loops on the ruler. The next step, we'll turn our work, we'll cut our yarn. You know, this is just a little demonstration because our pattern calls for 190 stitches to make the design. But remember the extra one, so we had to make 191. We had to make 191 chain to start our pattern for the gown. If you are going to make the same kaftan that I made, the pattern is going to be on the blog and you can use that. So the next, I'm going to tie this as usual before we start the next row. Tie it twice into the loop. Then we'll turn our work. So you have strand on the left and on the right side of your work if you are doing stripe. So for this one, you take the yarn, the crochet hook, you count, since we have 20, because of roller lace, you can do it in form of 6, the loop in 6, you can do it in, depend on what design you want, you can do it in 3, 6, 5, 4, you can do the loop in that format. So I'm going to put the crochet hook, we'll count it in 5 because we have 20, we have 20 loops, so I'm going to put it in. Then I'll wind the yarn around the hook of the needle and just pull so that I have a loop to work with. Then I'll wind the yarn again around and secure that loop. Then we need to do 5 double crochet because we have 5 loops, so it corresponds with the number of loops you have. If you have 5 loops, you have to do 5 double crochet so that your pattern will have the same, will be straight and the stitches will be the same. So I'm going to do 5 double crochet into the loop. Remember, it's not on this side yet, but when we remove the ruler, it's going to be in the middle. So it secures both loops. Sorry, it secures the up, it secures the loop. So I'm going to count. So I've done 3. There's a 4th one. There's a 5th one. Then I'll pull it out so that you see. As I said earlier in the video, one thing you have to take note of is the direction you are going to. You don't want to be crocheting and it's facing this side, because if it faces this side, it's going to twist the pattern and you don't want that, so it's going to be like so. Remember, if you are knitting towards the right, it should be on the right. It depends on how you are knitting it. Oh, sorry, how you are crocheting it. For the next, we just wind the yarn around, and I'm going to pick 5 loops again. And if you saw that, I wind the yarn. You wind the yarn around the hook of the crochet hook, and then slip it under, wind around again and pull so that you start the double crochet. You don't need to make it, oh sorry, I just dropped. You don't need to make a chain for that, because the chain is going to make your work widen. So since I've done that, I can pull it out and work. But be careful when you pull it out, because sometimes this loop slips. Because the ruler is resting and I'm not in a comfortable position while doing this, that's why I am able to pull it out and do that. Because I don't need to hold the ruler in my hand when I'm doing that. So I'm just going to this is a 5th one. And I'm going to show you something, and you can see. So you see it's following the direction. So wind the yarn around, no chain, wind the yarn around, and I'm going to slip it through on the 5. So we have 5 remaining, and we are working on. So I'll be fast with this one because we still have the next one to do. Okay, and we have the last one. because always remember that because it's a stripe, I will need to remove that last loop and leave it on the 2 loops before I finish up. So I'm going to trim again and leave the last loop. I'm not doing the last loop yet. I'll get the 40 yarn because I'm using 5 different colors of yarn. So I'm going to tie it to make the last loop. And into the loop, I try to make it twice so that it's firm. And then we'll do the last one. Then we turn our work, we do 1 chain, and into each of this shell we are going to do, into each DC in the shell we are going to do a DC, because we need to make this last DC line, we need to make it so that we can work on the loop. But if you don't want to make this double crochet line, you just want to start a new loop over here, you can do that. Remember, you are the designer, so you can. But I like making it because it helps, especially when you want to stitch them together. When you want to stitch the front and the back together, you will have a place to sew, and you don't want to really tamper with this one, because if anything loses here, it's going to affect the loop. So that's why I like having this double crochet foundation before I do the next loop, and I like doing the loop on it. So you can see that in each of them we'll have 20 double crochet by the time we get to the end. The good thing about this pattern is that you can use it for any design. Can be a shirt, can be okay, we've used it now for a gown, can be a blanket, it can also be used for a skirt. I'm thinking of using it for a gathered skirt. And into the last double crochet here we have that. And remember, because it's a stripe again, you have to remember that you will need to just do it onto 2. We'll trim, and then you need, although I didn't follow the sequence we used for because this one is supposed to come in between both of this gunmetal is supposed to come before this rose. So after this sand color, we supposed to put the gunmetal, and that's the sequence. But I'm not following that sequence. The sequence we use for the gown, I'm not following that. I've already made a mistake. So I'm going to put this gray here. So with the gray, we pull, and then we start again. So I'm just going to do the gray so that you see that the pattern, that's how we follow the pattern up. So going to just then you turn our work, we'll wear it in. And then we start pulling the yarn through. and I'm continuing that, and then you form it. So this is how we make our roller lace. And the edges, after we finish, you're going to darn the edges. The edges, you just need to weave them into the garment. You need a thin crochet hook. Okay, let me finish this one first, then we'll do the edges. So if we are doing the edges, I'm just going to leave this and just demonstrate the edges. You will need a thin crochet hook, and then you need to, let me use this one, and I'll do one on the loop. You need a thin head crochet hook, and you just need to weave in and out. Leave it down. I think that should be. So you just need to weave in and out of the knitwear, and you take a strand, or you can take both strands, wind the yarn, the loose yarn around it, and then you darn it in. You pull it through. You can do it a little at a time so that it's not rough, or you can do it you can do both together. Because you have gone in and out, and if you have a very long, if the tail of yarn is very long or the loose yarn is very long, you can now trim it somewhere and it's going to stay properly. That's because you've gone in and out of the garment that you are making. So now I can trim it there. We've taken care of that, and let me just do this the tail of yarn from Kaftan. If you don't want to go this pattern, you can also, there are some certain stitches that you can hide it inside. Instead of going horizontally, you can go vertically and hide the stitch in, like this one, like this loop here. If I want to, because the base is a different color, so if I want to hide it here, I can take this tool. I'm just going to come in wind the yarn around it and pull through. Okay, there's just one, then take the second one. So into the base of the loop, I'm going to pull the other one. So it helps getting a long tail of yarn to do that. And if you notice why as I pulled it, the other strand that was here, this other rose strand, just came up. So it's not part of the design. And if you cannot decide to split, if you want to split them and weave it into, let's see if you will see this one clearly. This one is for those looking for perfection. So, okay, so sorry, let me do it again. I didn't know it was too close. So you put the hook, instead of horizontally, it's going to be vertically. You're going to now put it, because of the kind of pattern, you want to wind it in. You want to weave it into the double. So you see, and now it's up here. Because it's in and out of pattern, you cannot trim it. And you have a nice. Why this other one? Because it's just a loop, we can take it into this other part. And then in and out again horizontally, because we've done it vertically, we'll do it horizontally here to secure it. And then we can trim its tail. So I'm going to just show you so that you see. You see this side is neat. You don't have the strands here. You don't have the strands here. And I'm going to show you the other side. Turn it. And you're going to see that this other side is neat. We don't have the strand here. So that's how to darn in your yarn for this kind of project. You might have a better technique than this. That is fine. Just do the one that is comfortable, that you are pleased with, that you'll be proud of your garment. Sometimes I do leave the yarn to add. I just make sure that they are different, the same size or different sizes, and just leave them. And then later on thread some other extra yarn, so that it gives a kind of rustic look. You don't need to darn those yarn. You don't need to do it. You just add beautiful, it's just like extra strands, ornaments, and tassels. But they are not tassels because you didn't make they're like tassels, yes, but they are more strands than tassels, because they are not in lumps. So they are just extra like this. You just tie them just because you don't want to darn. Maybe you're tired of darning or so. So you can do that. I've done that in some of my projects. If you take a look at some of my knitwear, you see them. You see those. I think I did one recently, and I also did it in. So I'll just put a clip at the end so that you see that you can leave it like that. That's also, it's not compulsory most darning, and this is tiring. For me, this is extra tiring. So you can just leave it like so on the knitwear. Don't worry, they will relax. You just leave it like that, but you just pretend they will look like a nice pattern. Some people do thread beads to weigh them down. You can leave it like that if you don't have beads, if you don't want beads in it. Remember, if you are going to machine wash it also, you don't want the beads to get into the washing machine. So let's go and complete our knitwear. So for our knitwear, we need 191 stitches to make 191 chain. That's because ruler lace is multiples of 5 stitches plus 1. Normally we need 190, but plus 1, the turning chain is going to make us 191. So let's start. So we finish both the front and the back. We can use either side as the front and the other either side as the front or the back. So what we're going to do next is just to pin the side where the shoulder is going to be, where the neck is going to be, and where the shoulder is going to be. So I'm going to just hold the stripe and the plain together and make sure it's stretching the edges, and then I just fold. Why I'm folding is because I want equal, when I want to demarcate where I want the neck to be, I want the shoulder to the arm or to the elbow to be the same length, because we're going to pin them and we're going to stitch. So if this is going to be the neck, the neck region, so we're going to pin from here, just so to make sure. Okay, so we'll pin, we'll line, just sorry, I'm just trying to line properly and just pick to line. You can measure it if you want to, but it's necessary to measure it because so I'm just going to take this side to be the neck because I want it like a boat neck, and this side is going to be the shoulder. Let me measure my shoulder to see. Okay, now I'm going to take a little from it, so it's going to go. But remember, we want it on this double. Let me use something else so that my hand. We want it on this plate with a double crochet. We want it to start from there, so that we'll have a fence stitch to secure, or an anchor stitch for our design to secure the shoulders. So I'm just going to measure it on me and see if it's cool. Okay, all right, that's cool. Don't forget the neck. You want your head. You want the wearer's head to be able to pass through without having to struggle. So I'm going to take it, the first mark I did. Taking that wearer's head into consideration, then we'll pin. I'm just going to secure the pin here so that I know this. Then I'll take a different colors. I'm using color-coded pins. So I'm going to mark it. I'm not going to pin. And then we go to, you can use your tapestry needle, which will give it a firm grip when stitching, or you can decide to use the sewing machine. Or for this one, for the shoulders, you can use the tapestry needle and a yarn to give that secured edge. Then when you are sewing the other side, because of the stitch design there, which you can use your sewing machine for that, because there are a lot of loops on this side and it might not give you want that you want your stitch secured. So we have already secured it, and that is how going to. The nice thing about this design is that no side is really the right side or the wrong side. You can decide which side you want as the right side or the wrong side. You can also decide which side you want as the front or the back. As I said earlier, my yarn wasn't enough, so I had to make one side stripe and the other side. So 3 times 400 grams of aran yarn will be able to do it. That is 1,200 grams of aran yarn. We give you this design. You still have leftover. You will have leftover. Right. So since I'll be doing this off camera, not to take too much of our time, I'll just how to do the sides. Sorry, to do this side. If you want to, you can measure the body part so that you have lines and dimension. Let me use a plain side so that the color don't interfere when I'm demonstrating. So if you want to, you can just place your tape measure. Let me just use this ruler since it's close to me. Place your tape measure and decide and measure the body, and you know which side you want to stitch to start from and the other stitch too. You want the body from the neck, that neck region. You don't need to stitch that. If you want it tight, if you want it fitting, remember that. But if you don't want it fitting, wherever the neck starts from, you can start doing your body shape from there. So we've pinned the shoulders. We've pinned the shoulders, which we have here, and that's our neck region. So I'm going to sew those off because it's really long sew. Then I'll do. Then when you measure the body, you can decide. You know which from your from body measurement you can decide which side which So we have already finished sewing the neck band, and if you see, there's it. There's the right side and this is the wrong side out. We have a very thin seam line here, and this is the neck. You can see the neck, the opening of the neck, and we have the other side for the shoulder. That's the shoulder. We've sewn two sides, the shoulders for both sides. Let me turn it properly so that we can. I think zoom out a little so that we can see if we can see it properly. All right. So we have the shoulders here, and we've sewn it. This is the neck opening. We have the neck opening and the shoulders sewn. This is the right side, this is the wrong side where the seam is. Now it's time for us to sew vertically down so that we can make the armhole and also to the hem of the garment. We are not going to sew at this edge here. If you want to, you can just sew you can just make armhole and sew it here. But the effect we're trying to make is to have a butterfly kind of effect here. We have a light opening here. So if you want that, but if you don't want that, you can just sew. You can just measure for the arm and then sew. Then you sew down. Just measure pin, but we are not doing that. So I've already done one side so that I'll demonstrate it, and then we'll pin the other side. Okay, so this is the arm. So this is the arm, and we've stitched it. We've stitched down here. So we moved about 1, 2, 3, 4 in, and then we stitched. That's because when we measured for the body, we have enough space out. So any one you want to do, you can. So I'm just going to measure for the arm now, working on the right side because this has to be the right side. If you do that on the wrong side, if you turn it over, since I've done it on one part, let me just if you turn it over and you do it on the wrong side, when you bring it out on the right side, it will now be like so. The design won't be pronounced, and you have a thick layer in there because we have that butterfly effect. We have this butterfly effect hiding here, so it's going to make your knitwear lumpy. We don't want that. We want the butterfly effect out. That's why we're working on the right side of the knitwear. So I'll turn out of the stripe side so that you can see the effect of the design, so that you can see what we're trying to demonstrate without the stripe causing a distraction. So that is it. You can see the effect is the arm. You can see the effect on it. I'm just trying to, for those that when you demonstrate with multicolors, there are some of us, when we demonstrate with multicolors, it's difficult for us to see. So we need a little plain design on the side to make us understand what you are trying to explain. So that's why I'm repeating myself. Okay, so that is it. We stitched 4 designs in, so you can see our stitch mark, but remember to leave from the shoulder to the arm for the opening of the suit. You can see that my hands can slip in and come out of the neck, so you need to leave that opening. We are going to do the same on this side. Since I've sewn that side, I'm going to do this side and pin it, then we'll go to the sewing machine and we'll stitch this one up. So first I'm going to take is 4 stitches in, so we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, which and make sure your design, because they are equal design on the front and on the back, you have to make sure your design line properly. And okay, so we have 1 loop, 2 loop, 3 loop, 4 loop, and then we have our, then on this DC row, that's when we have, let's see, so I'm going to put it on 9 because from my arm to, from my shoulder to where I want my arm hole to start is 9 inches. So I'm just going to pin that. I'm going to use white so that we see white pin, and I'm just going to pin it. So continue pinning. Or I can use different color coded so that you see that. Let me use yellow next, and we'll pin it straight. And taking a look is going to be, I will turn the other side. Let me just work on a little downward of this, and we'll just pin straight down. The pins don't need to be close to each other. Remember, if you don't pin, if you make it, you might make a mistake of, if you don't mark where your arm, the arm is going to be, you make a mistake of stitching over to the neck, and you have your arm, you have the opening for the armhole opening. So you need that, or the sleeve opening. So I'm just going to pin, and we'll pin those ones down, just a little pin to space them, to make sure we're on the right right row when we are stitching. And then this last one, I'm just going to pin him to make sure it's the same. Then I'm going to turn it to the other side, to this side, so that you see it. Okay, to the stripe side. You can pin it anywhere. It's just because to make it clearer. So if I try opening it, you will see that I've pinned it, and we have this butterfly effect here. So that's what we want. Okay, so we're going to sew from the, you sew from the front. as I said earlier, if you don't sew from the front, you're not going to have that butterfly effect, and you're going to have lump in your work. So you have to sew from the front. But the shoulders have been, you see this seams for the shoulders are inside because the seams comes out for the shoulders. But for the side seams, the seam is the seam you have to make it in front, that the right side of the garment. Okay, not just front, so the right side of the garment. That's the right terminology to use, or terms to use. Okay, so there's the right side of the garment. There's the right side of the garment. These are the wrong side of the garment where we have the seam for the shoulder, but I'm just trying to correct myself. I've been saying it, the front. Okay, so we have our pins here. So we're going to sew on this gray 3D, this gray line here, where we have the gray line, where we have the double crochet stitches on the row without any design effect. There are just a double crochet stitch there. So that's it, this one here. And we have our 9-inch yes, we have our 9-inch for our armhole, and we'll go to the sewing machine and then we'll start sewing. And after that, sewing on the sewing machine, I'm going to wear it, and we'll see how we can use it with belts, or we can use it without belts, and you can put lining over it. I'll be using silk tie and lining under it. You can wear before I go there, let me just explain this one. You can wear leggings. You can make a gown lining. You can use leggings or a tema wear under it also if you want to. You can, whatever lining you desire. You can use cotton, you can use silk, you can use whatever lining you desire to use under it. And I'll show you. You can use it with belt, you can use it without belts. We can use it with normal belt, or you can just crochet I-cord and just tie in between and use it as a drawstring if you want to. You can do whatever you desire. It's your knitwear, it's your design. So let's go and then we'll wait. Let's go and sew now. See you at the sewing machine. Here on the machine, we are using simple backstitch, and we've set our needle. We are using a jeans needle to sew.